Howdy, 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 my name's Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, I'm pretty sure we read Man's Best Friend, Mr. Moon, Baby Mill, Needy Mirror, and Mr. Lost. So in this episode, we should be doing the Museum of Memories, another version of the truth. A useful tool, the Ice Water Man and the Mushroom Cultist? My computer's running kind of weird. I think it was because of the last Windows update. So things are lagging. Let's see. It's Euclid. Research Site 346 has been constructed inside of 921. Signs indicating volcano and earthquake hazards are to be posted around 921's containment area in order to discourage civilians to visitation. Foundation agents are to be disguised as members of the Armonite State Forest Service and are to ensure the area is vacant at all times. Interaction with instances of SCP-921-1 is permitted to all personnel who pass the general authorization process for the site, with direct interaction with two requires authorization from Site Director Dr. Cyril. So there's a whole bunch of side things. 921 is an underground complex of rooms, tunnels, and chambers of various sizes, composition and age surrounding a central chamber, size of composition and age, surrounding a central chamber located in the mountainous area near blankety blank, with the period over here for some reason. While some appear to be natural caves, others are clearly man-made or were formed by unknown means altogether. The anomalous nature stems from the effect the assorted objects it contains, henceforth one, have on those who interact with them. Many of the rooms in 921 contain rock formations or underground flora in the cave-like rooms, mundane items in the man-made rooms, or other objects in the unclassified rooms. The objects seem to contain sensations. When interacted with, each object will cause its user to experience a combination of sight, sound, sense, and other sensory inputs as well as emotions. No lasting or harmful effects due to the interaction with instances of one were observed. The central chamber of 921 houses an incorporeal entity, henceforth 2, who addresses those who enter the main chamber of 921. 2's voice originates from the ceiling of the central chamber, though no obvious source has been found. 2 seems to serve as a sort of guide and curator to instances of one housed within 921. When prompted, it will provide directions to a specific object or area of 921, or offer a limited explanation of the sensation contained within an individual object. The exact extent of 2's sentience is unknown, or uncertain, same thing. 2 refers to the various sections of 921 as wings, and the instances of 1 as focus points. Each wing, room, and object is named. New rooms and wings will occasionally appear within 921, containing new focus points. These new areas of 921 will always be connected to an existing wing of the same general composition. Sub-Area 3, the Drowned Grotto Wing. Wow, okay. A series of large natural caves connected by a series of tunnels, many submerged underwater. Some sections of this wing receive natural sunlight. The focus points in this subsection are stalagmite and stalactite formations. Notable focus points: number 3, Summer Peak. A single stalagmite, 8.6 meters tall, activated by touch, instills a sensation of acute vertigo, in addition to a subdued sensation of cold, described by subjects as similar to that felt when wearing warm clothes in a cold climate, and thin air. Subjects will also occasionally hear several phrases repeated in German and English. Too steep, leave him behind, we need to turn back, such a waste. 2's comment: a failed expedition. An insurmountable challenge for a while, death comes slowly while men reconsider and finally flee. Focus point 12, the trial. A small stalagmite, stationed in front of 2 larger stalagmites, instills a sensation of defiance, sorrow, and fear, and a certainty of one's innocence, as well as the scent of aged wood and wax candles burning. Voices speaking in Dutch and Hebrew are heard as if coming from a long distance. Dangerous thoughts must be removed from the community and the city. Pantheist! Heretic! One of us no longer. 2's comment: a small man stands accused of large thoughts. His world is too perfect and still for his peers, so they cast him aside. All of his brightness does nothing to shield him from the pain. Focus point 19, Lead Tidebreaker. A formation of 11 stalactites surrounding 2 stalagmites. All but one of the stalactites is broken. Instills a sensation of bewilderment, anxiety, and bloodlust, as well as the smell of gunpowder, the rattling sound of machine guns, and the crunching of sand under military boots. A whirling tide of iron flows to drown a small island of crimson. Instead, the waves themselves are broken on its shores, their iron staining the sands. The tide never stood chance. Okay, the Inky Chambers. What is that again? The Inky Chambers wing? Okay. A series of study rooms and offices, each containing a desk and a means of writing, carved directly into the mountain and connected by wide corridors. The focus points in this area are either the desks or the writing tools. Notable focus points number 4 is a moment of peace. A typewriter stationed in an ornate study, and shows a vision of an underground bunker occupied by several young women in military uniforms, all working on typewriters similar to the focus point. The sound of a bombing run can be heard from above. Occasionally, a faint smell of cigar smoke and a sensation of security and calmness are felt. While the firestorm rages above them and the very base of their lives is threatened, they are secure in the knowledge that they are doing everything in their power to help, and so does he. Focus point 9, Autumn. A quill, pen, and inkwell located on a small wooden table in an otherwise empty room instills two conflicting sensations superimposed on one another. The first is the sight of a countryside in autumn, the smell of ripe apples, and the sound of water flowing in a stream. The second, the sight of a dark, musty room, the sensation of soiled bedsheets and an acute pain in the chest. A perfect moment in time captured forever by one who did not live to experience many. Taken too soon, he was consumed by his own flame. His conflagration burns still in the minds of others. Focus point 13, Regret. A fountain pen stationed on a Louis XV style writing desk instills a sense of apprehension, disbelief, and shame. Shame! Shame! Cheap wood can be felt around the neck, and jeering and cheering in French of a large crowd of people can be heard, as well as the scent of rotten fruit and rust. Oh, somebody. Despised for errors he could not avoid making, betrayed by one of his own blood for a prize already lost to both. Doomed to be remembered as a tyrant when he was but a simple fool. True tyrants followed. Okay. The Gowl Wing. That looks uncomfortable. Sounds like it's... Okay. A collection of brick-lined cellars. Each cellar contains 4 compartments, 2 bearing serial numbers and 2 unnumbered. The focus points in this area are the unnumbered compartments. Focus 1, Genesis. The unnumbered compartment above compartment 1 instills a vision of a boardroom containing a long wooden table and 13 leather-armed chairs. Voices speaking in English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish can be heard, but are too unclear to decipher. Feelings of worry, determination, and secrecy are instilled. 2's comment. The gardeners assemble to discuss their greatest creation. They seek to trap it with Typhoon and Jormungandr, the Griffin, and the Hounds of Hell. But there are no gods. Focus point 13, in the desert. The unnumbered compartment above compartment number 13 instills a vision of the same boardroom scene in focus point 1. 5 of the chairs are missing and no voices can be heard at all. Feelings of betrayal, anger, and disbelief are also instilled. Insects chew and burrow and bite at the grapevines. Insatiable, they seek the sweet fruits of the tree. They care not for what lies beneath. The gardeners can do naught but watch. Focus point 21. St. George and the Dragon. The unnumbered compartment above compartment number 21 instills a sense of rage, excitement, and loathing, in addition to the smell of wet earth and blood. Loud roars originating from 2 separate sources can be heard. This George was no saint, as his squires were soon to learn. Locked in battle, there was no chivalry to be found between knight and dragon. Soon both were again locked away like beasts, so they deserved. The Checkered Tunnel Wing. A kilometer-long tunnel composed of tiles of unknown composition or make, the largest sub-area to be discovered. Focus points are found within cavities in the tiles. Focus point number 327, dang, Serrated Baptism. A cavity found 132.5 meters inside the tunnel. Instills a sense of massive physical pain and fear, followed by a sense of elation and tranquility. Experience tranquility. Voice chanting in an unknown language and the smell of metal can also be sensed. The Iron Wolf removes another from the flock of the Shepherd of Flesh. Those who were taken are sheep no longer. Focus point 585, Rare Unity. A cavity found 301 meters inside the tunnel instills a vision of a small group of people praying in different languages, most notably Arabic, Latin, and Hebrew. A sense of fascination, suspension, and uncertainty can also be felt. In fear of a great fire, the animals of the forest forget old grudges. What is a wolf when the flaming brand draws ever closer? So it sounds like this place is just sort of making people sense various... Well, at least some of the things in here are just making them sense various bits and pieces of the end of the world. And this website has a lot of those, so who knows which ones they're seeing. Next up is another version of the truth. As SCP-922 is localized on the campus of the University of something. It has a footnote. For the purpose of secrecy and continued containment efforts, the name of the university in question is censored in this document to all personnel not assigned to Site-305. That's me! And the surrounding neighborhoods. Containment efforts are restricted to the areas designated by Site Director... sorry, I don't know why I keep yawning. Al-Zarqa. Cumulatively identified as Site-305. Personnel are to maintain absolute secrecy and discretion when interacting with students and faculty of the university under the guise of campus security and/or custodial staff. Cooperation with the local FBI Unusual Incidents Unit, affiliates is ongoing in order to locate and identify a potential source of 922, if at all possible. Foundation personnel assigned to 305 with security level 2 and below are to abide by the following containment procedures. 1. Personnel are not to engage students, faculty, or civilians on site without prior approval from level 4 personnel. 2. Personnel embedded within the University of Blank at risk of discovery by students, faculty, or civilians are to resign and or withdraw from their cover positions and submit all gathered information to their project overseer alone. No other individual, regardless of rank or class, is privy to this information. 3. Personnel are not to respond to on-site incidents up to and including threats of violence directed against personnel, unless such threats appear to place personnel in a situation of imminent danger. And 4. Embedded personnel are not to contradict inaccurate statements made by students, faculty, or civilians. Okay. The number of on-site personnel is to be maintained at a consistent, used to say 601, now it's at 644 to prevent discrepancies related to 922's effects. Okay. A selection of 13 level 4 personnel on site have been authorized to make note of or mark any level 3 personnel or below who are suspected of having been anonymously created by 922. Personnel who are marked are not to be reassigned without the authorization of Site Director Al-Zarqa and at least 10 of the 13 authorized level 4 personnel. If authorized, these individuals are to be given amnestics and monitored at their new assignments. The identities of the 13 authorized level 4 personnel to remain classified to all personnel save for Site Director Al-Zarqa and the O5 Council. Okay, so it looks like what that means is that there are people who are walking around working for the Foundation that were created by the school and not actually assigned there. Alright. SCP-922 is a reality-altering phenomenon affecting all 20-something thousand-something students and faculty of the University of Blank, located in Blank Blank, as well as an additional 900 and something civilians in the surrounding neighborhoods. Affected individuals display a number of discrepancies in memory, including recollection of non-existent events and individuals. Additionally, 922 may or may not be responsible for creating new individuals, most of whom have been positively identified using local census records. The nature of the anomalous effects make it unknown as to whether these individuals are newly created or have been previously removed from the memories of fellow students or faculty. Alterations made by 922 have indicated a behavioral pattern of evasion and deception based on indirect interaction with Foundation personnel. Further investigation and research into a possible conscious source to the anomalies is pending. It was first discovered in August 2009 when several students attempted to drop a course they did not register for. The registrar was unable to find any information on the course in question, and the registry numbers for the course in question were found to be non-existent in the campus course catalog. The class was labeled as Barricades, Borders, and the Bourgeoisie, America, and the New Deal, taught by Professor Martina Bauer, with the class location and time labeled to be announced. Additional records in the campus registry were discovered to have significant discrepancies, drawing the attention of a local FBI affiliate investigating suspected fraud and fiscal misconduct. The appearance of the anomalously created FBI agents lacking physical documentation, but maintaining highly sensitive information, drew the attention of the Unusual Incidents Unit and later the Foundation. On what I assume is October the 1st, 2009, a joint investigation made by the Unusual Incidents Unit of the local FBI affiliate and the Foundation into the campus registry found multiple records for students determined either to be duplicate entries, alumni, or non-existent. Additional personnel were called in to expanded their search. To include university enrollment and employment records, financial aid and scholarship applications, and charitable donations made on behalf of alumni. From this investigation, the following discrepancies were discovered. 186 students present on campus were not registered in any systems. All 186 students could provide school ID cards and official schedules bearing student IDs. 15 custodial employees' entries contained falsified information apparently duplicated from another staff employee. 32 students were duplicated using different student ID numbers, totaling 100 fictitious registration entries. Over the course of their enrollment, 12 of the students provided student IDs with information matching different duplicate entries at different times. None of the students claimed to have multiple ID cards and could not provide an explanation for the apparent discrepancies. I don't know if that's being picked up, but they're working on the street right out in front of my house, so that might be coming up on my microphone. It used to say 2 professors possess no employment records or registration information, determined to be caused by a filing error. The professors have since been cleared. Blank students, male and female, have claimed to be Joshua Blank Blank, a freshman student described as a black Hispanic male. None of the students claiming to be Mr. Blank are black Hispanic males. All have provided student ID numbers and ID cards bearing their respective photographs. None of the cards show signs of forgery or tampering. 1,399 students were assigned to the same 2 dorm rooms in the Blank Residential Hall, 4 stories, maximum occupancy listed as 450. Foundation agents sent to investigate reported nothing anomalous regarding the Blank Residential Hall. Note, see it, Incident 9220A. Here it is! Also, that's some more stuff. Following the report given by Foundation agents, an additional 4 individuals claiming to be Foundation agents reported into handlers claiming the Blank Residential Hall did not exist. The individuals claimed to be present at the reported location of the hall and reported that none of the students nearby could corroborate the alleged existence of the Blank Residential Hall. Questioned by the handlers, the 2 individuals identified themselves as Agent Jones and Tizona. The handler confirmed their identities and ID numbers, but claimed not to have dispatched the 2 to investigate. Personnel reported to the location and positively identified a 7-story building as the Blank Residential Hall. Placards within the buildings listed the maximum occupancy as 1,500. Campus records continued to refer to the hall as being 4 stories tall with a maximum occupancy of 450. Copies of all these records have been made and uploaded to Site 305's database, allowing for the campus to update records regarding the residential hall. So, the residential hall prior to Incident 0A, photo provided by an out-of-state alumnus. Residential hall photographed by on-site personnel following Incident 9220A. Okay. And 0B, university records archived at Site 305 have been moved off-site after it was discovered several entries have been altered to reflect updates made to the actual records by campus personnel. And then it says, further information regarding this is currently restricted to level 5 personnel and pre-approved individuals already privy to the information. Well, I'm not privy to it, but it didn't stop me, so onwards! Addendum 1. Repeated incidents involving discrepancies in agent assignments and logs prompted an internal review of Site 305 records and personnel over a period of blank years. Conducted alongside personnel at Site 11 located in blank LA. Site directors Alzarka of Site 305 and Vargas of Site 11 were the only 2 individuals privy to the full context and purpose of the review. Determined whether or not 922 was directly or indirectly responsible for the anomalous creation of previously non-existent individuals. Determined whether or not it's additionally responsible for the alteration of local and federal records, including census records, medical, voter registration, school records, etc. To accommodate the perceived pre-existence of aforementioned anomalous individuals, as well as altering the memories of assorted individuals to facilitate insertion of newly created individuals into communities and social groups as members prior to their actual creation. Similar cases involving non-sapient or otherwise non-humanoid replicants have been previously documented. Alzarka, Tahira, Marlo, Jamie, my sister is an only child, the inconsistent Carbo family. Foundation Journal of Visual Cognito-Hazardous Spatial and Temporal Anomalies, January 2006. Determine whether or not 922 is sentient and as a result of patterns of alteration made apparently in response to Foundation investigative efforts, and to determine if the effects of 922 have spread beyond its observed area before or since discovery. Results of the blank year review found discrepancies in the number of on-site personnel ranging from 133 to 700 individuals. 78 individuals were marked by authorized level 4 personnel as being potentially anonymously created, with an unspecified number of the other personnel claiming to be unaware of the 78 individuals being Foundation employees despite proper documentation and identification. Further investigation eliminated 30 of the individuals from suspicion. Notably, the 30 individuals could be accounted for with proper documentation and references from off-site personnel and or former non-Foundation co-workers. An additional 118 individuals were found to have no record of having been assigned to 305, and another 20 had no record of having been employed by the Foundation. These 138 individuals were recognized and identified by on-site personnel as long-time, longer than blank years employees. The 186 individuals, along with an additional blank individuals, were interrogated by Foundation personnel at Site Blank, where it was determined that none of the individuals displayed any anomalous knowledge or behavior inconsistent with their alleged station/profession. None were aware of the full effects of 922, nor had any connections with one another prior to discovery. Over the course of the interrogation, some blank days, over an additional 74 individuals were cleared of suspicion. Documentation for these individuals was corroborated with references from friends and relatives and/or co-workers at a variety of Foundation sites. The remaining individuals could not provide information regarding existing friends or relatives and have been tentatively placed in containment pending further research. Note: for O5 Council eyes only, input credentials does the Black Moon howl. Addendum 2. The following letter was delivered to the offices of the O5 Council from the office of Dr. James Marlowe at Site 19. Dr. Marlowe herself was contacted directly and confirmed she had sent the letter in question and attested to the accuracy of its contents. Contents of the note are logged below. Some time ago I was contacted by a junior researcher regarding some of my work. I later reviewed their work and found that I had been cited in an article apparently co-written with an individual named Tahira Alzarka. I did some research on Alzarka and discovered she was site director in Blank, overseeing containment of 922. I pulled up the article in question and read over its effects, namely those regarding the anomalous creation of clones or whatever it was. I have never heard of a Tahira Alzarka working for the Foundation. I have never read any article submitted by her prior to this 922, and I have never co-authored anything with anyone named Tahira Alzarka. No one I've talked to knows anything about Alzarka, and after doing some independent research, I found that pretty much no one outside of Blank has ever heard of Tahira Alzarka. I don't know how long this has been going on or how long she's allegedly been a site director. If this is part of some other anomalous research or an experiment, please disregard all of my concerns, but given the effects described in the documentation of 922, I assume the worst. Wait, so that means that SCP-922 created created Tahira Alzarka, who then created Site 305 to research 922, and that would mean that the site is researching itself? But... Also, it looks like the Black Moon howls only when waning. So, let's see. Let's look at this again. Okay. So the identities of the 13 authorized level 4 are to remain classified except for Director Alzarka and the O5 Council. So, according to Marlowe, Alzarka didn't exist until they found this SCP. But according to the entry, the SCP is only being studied because that's what Alzarka is doing. And it's creating more people who are trying to work for the Foundation, but they don't really seem to be doing anything bad. It's just messing with the records and making the campus bigger. Well, let's move on. Okay, a useful tool. Ah, very useful book. The useful tool is safe. There are no containment procedures. It is currently in orbit at an altitude of blank 100 kilometers. This, combined with its automated defenses, makes retrieval impossible. 923 reports it has no control over its defense mechanisms, as such it cannot be contained in the traditional sense. Instead, care must be taken to make sure that no other satellites enter its path, as further damage to the object could cause catastrophic results. Furthermore, its defense mechanisms destroying another satellite would display its anomalous nature and destroy the cover story of a military spy satellite. Since the object ignores all queries and instructions that lack O5 level authorization, termination of the object has been suspended until it becomes unusable. Description: SCP-923 is a satellite that includes a large parabolic dish constructed of unknown alloys. The object is also equipped with a blank reactor, which satisfies the power needs of its firing mechanism. Is it a Death Star? Because it kind of sounds like it's a Death Star. It is unclear how 923 generates the effects of firing on a target, but tests have shown that subjects placed between 923 and its target are unaffected. Much of the information about 923 has been gathered from 923 itself. The object reports that it was constructed by the Foundation at Site Blank, which was planned to be constructed in blank blank, but cancelled due to logistical concerns. 923 is not to be informed of this under any circumstances. The object is semi-sentient and capable of basic deductions, but appears to use this ability solely for information queries. 923 first came to the Foundation knowledge on blankety blank blank when it started reporting back successful termination messages from various points around the globe on the O5 Secured Information Relay System. These reports continued over the course of blank hours, totaling 57 terminations around the globe at intensities between blank and blank. 55 of these deaths have been confirmed since the original incident. To access the list of terminated individuals, see document 9230014K. The Foundation has been unable to determine how 923 gained access to the O5 Secured Information Relay System. The adjustments have been made to prevent 923 from gathering any information on that system unless it is meant specifically for 923. It is capable of rapidly shifting its orbit in order to reach a target quickly. When given O5 level authorization, the object will accept firing orders. It requires standard GPS coordinates, altitude, a time, and an integer value for the intensity. An experiment log for determining what the numbers mean has been included. Special permission has been granted to keep some D-class personnel alive beyond normal expiration date for the purpose of study. Intensity 10. Response: error reported by 923 stating that it was incapable of firing at an intensity lower than 23. Intensity 25. Response: subjects reported hearing voices, interacting with people not present, overwhelming paranoia, compulsions to harm others, and terror. Interviews with affected subjects reported strong feelings of being watched, though they were unable to elaborate further. Time until recovery, 15 to 19 days. Note from Dr. Blank. In order to better examine the phenomena caused by 923, several recording devices were placed next to the target. Intensity 35. Similar to 25, but with the subjects also reported compulsions to harm themselves, constant suicidal thoughts. Researchers within 10 meters of the target reported having panic attacks. Time until recovery, 6 to 8 months. Video and data feeds. All visual and audio feeds were lost during the test fire, and several recording devices seem to have been shifted up to 10 centimeters from their initial placement. One device seems to have adhered strongly to the floor during testing. Recovered video feeds show heavy damage, consistent with data expunged. Audio feeds record nothing out of the ordinary, but when presented to the affected researchers or subjects, feelings of dread or suicidal thoughts return. Furthermore, affected subjects also claim that the audio feed matches the voices heard and become increasingly agitated when told the feed contains random static. Note from Dr. Blank. It looks like the thing actually has a blast effect to it, and not just a laser of madness. The audio and video feed disruptions are particularly interesting. From now on, researchers are to observe remotely and D-class personnel to be secured so they can't harm themselves. We need them alive for study. Intensity 50, identical to the test above. Time until recovery, the subjects have not recovered. The restraint subjects somehow caused self-injury as tears and cuts were found in their skin despite still being in full-body restraints. Observers did not see anyone else enter or leave the testing area, nor did they see the D-class subjects escape their bonds. How they managed to injure themselves is still unknown. The video and data feeds were identical to the above test, though the displacement was more pronounced. Additional note, researchers recovering the D-class personnel reported extreme discomfort within the test area and that it felt wrong, but could provide no further details. This suggests some sort of lingering after effect, though no other changes have been observed. Perhaps higher level settings will reveal more. Intensity 75. Target went completely catatonic. A number of D-class personnel within 15 meters of the target were able to break free of their restraints and proceeded to kill all D-class personnel they could see by data expunged with their teeth before eventually turned on each other. Subjects up to 50 meters away reported panic attacks lasting up to 1 hour. All D-class personnel showed lacerations along their legs and arms, the cause of which is unknown. No bladed weapons were recovered, and wounds do not match damage caused by teeth or fingernails. The video data feeds as above, some devices were missing after the test. The feeds caused extreme distress in those who had experienced the panic attacks. Additional note, as before, researchers entering the area reported extreme discomfort, with a few experiencing mild panic attacks while surveying the landscape, and reported hearing whispers and voices, movement in the corners of their vision, and other symptoms. These symptoms were markedly similar to those of an Intensity 25 blast, but much more muted. Minor reports of anomalous activity, including poltergeist activity, objects moving of their own accord, were reported, though none were caught on video camera. Laser rangefinders show that there is now a permanent mild spatial distortion at the center of the blast site. The site is currently slated for testing the long-term after effects of 923 on an area and the effects of those living at the blast site. Note from the doctor. This is crossing the line from scientific to just barbaric. 923 has said that its maximum output is 238, which it promptly converts to Keter intensity. Let's just see what this does and report our findings. Okay then. Response. It is strongly advised that this intensity never be used again. In addition to causing permanent insanity in all subjects in a 2-kilometer radius around the target, surveillance equipment at the epicenter observed the materialization of data expunged, which dissipated after blank minutes. The site, located at blank longitude, blank latitude, is now designated 02 due to the permanent effects of the landscape at and surrounding the epicenter, and is to be quarantined with standard containment procedures. Subjects attempting to reach the epicenter experience greater and greater feelings of panic beginning at a distance of blank 100 meters, eventually resulting in insanity similar to the lower intensity settings, or tests. Post-incident investigation of the site has revealed spatial and temporal disturbances consistent with data expunged. Due to data expunged and the damage done to Ground Zero, 923 is currently undergoing O5 review for its potential to cause an XK class event. Additional note, while more than half of the equipment was lost on this experiment, one of the surveillance devices lost at the Intensity 75 firing was recovered after this test. It was heavily damaged and barely functional. Efforts to recover the data from this device are ongoing. Addendum: firing 923 causes some internal damage, resulting in the minimum intensity it can fire at increasing. 923's internal diagnostics report that it can no longer fire at an intensity below 66. It is strongly recommended that the object not be used for anything that it isn't absolutely required for. Alright then, that is... gasp. Now for the Ice Water Men, which do still sound like a JoJo villain. They look like nightmares. And they're Euclid. All specimens of 920... Wait a minute, hold on. Didn't it say that the satellite was safe because it's in space? But it can cause... whatever. All specimens of 924 are to be kept in separate 7x7x7 meter saltwater tanks within Site 46. The water is to be kept at a steady temperature of 35 degrees Fahrenheit. All observation points are to be constructed of reinforced glass. If a tank must be entered for reasons of experimentation or cleaning, the water is to be heated to a temperature of 44.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 degrees Celsius. Entering tanks outside of these conditions is prohibited. They probably eat you because they are made of ice water, and they are men. I don't know if they're men in tights, though. Each 924 is to be supplied with 85 kilograms of fresh meat on a monthly basis. The capture or elimination of wild specimens is to be carried out by Special Task Force Tau-2 Polar Pathfinders. SCP-924 is a species of pale humanoid measuring approximately 2 meters, 6.5 feet, in height. The entities have the appearance of a waterlogged human corpse with the addition of several bony antler-like growths on the head and a set of external gills located just below the ribcage. They are capable of swimming at speeds up to 30 kilometers per hour and surviving at depths of up to a kilometer. 924 requires a near-freezing Arctic environment to function properly and will lapse into a state of estivation if the water around it rises to 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit. I saw estivation and just assumed they turned into Emilio Estevez. That's probably not what it means. 924 is an ambush predator, attacking prey from underwater using either a hole in the ice as an appropriate ambush location, or by simply breaking through the ice itself. Just reach right on through there and eat folk, probably. 924 is highly sensitive to both smell and vibrations, allowing it to track prey from significant distances or through the ice. If the attack is successful, the target is promptly drowned. Following this, the body will be dragged to the ocean floor for consumption. 924 will release drowned bodies after 1 to 6 hours. Recovered bodies show all signs of prolonged submersion and high pressure, as well as liquefaction and consumption of internal organs and muscles. And sorry, I just thought I saw movement in a part of my room where there's nothing that can be moving. Let's see. The bodies will also contain high levels of virulent bacteria, which, when exposed to the human body, will break down most types of connective and muscle tissue while leaving skin and bones unharmed. The bacteria will remain active within the body for up to 2 weeks after feeding. Does that mean they turn into the ice men? Ice water men? Manly men? 924 was first recorded as a series of mysterious disappearances of ice fishermen in the area around Redacted. While the species requires a below-freezing environment to function properly, as its internal activity lessens as the temperature around it increases, it has been known to migrate south during the winter to find prey. The southernmost encounter with an SCP-924 was approximately 3 miles outside of Blank, Michigan. Addendum: an incident on blank 2000-something, while resulting in no casualties, proved that 924 are capable of supporting themselves and moving outside of water, and that attacks on unwary fishing vessels are possible. Tau-2 has revised their protocols accordingly. And that finally brings us to the mushroom cultist. Is it one dude? Do they like worship mushrooms, or is it a mushroom that is also a cultist? What cult is it? Is it the cult mushroom? Or a cult of mushrooms? It's Euclid, whatever it is. Specimens of 925 are to be kept in individual standard 5 meter by 5 meter steel cells. Twice a day, 285 grams of various fungi are to be pushed through a door slot and into the cell using the provided pole. Personnel transporting specimens are to wear steel mesh suits underneath a level D hazmat equipment. Should level 0 personnel and above physically contact a specimen without the aforementioned equipment, a Class B amnestic is to be administered, followed by a transfer to another project. Class D personnel are to be terminated, as usual. Physically, the species 925 appears near identical to a male human. Mentally, 925 who have cooperated exhibit behavior associated with acute dissociation and fatigue. Personnel interacting with the specimen report that it seems normal but slow, acting as if inebriated or impaired. This seems to be deliberate on the specimen's part in order to be dismissed by those surrounding it, allowing it to close in on potential victims. The specimens appear to be intersex. The specimens in confinement refuse to reproduce, and the act has yet to be observed in the wild. When a specimen makes physical contact with a human, the victim will become more sympathetic to the specimen. If physical contact is maintained for more than 3 to 5 minutes, the affected human will become completely devoted to the specimen. Once a specimen has gathered between 10 and 30 followers, it will lead them to a distant, secluded area. Any attempt to interact with or stop the group will be met with violence. Once the group has arrived, the followers will begin digging downwards, starting with a tunnel and gradually widening it out into a cavern as the group digs deeper. Once the cavern is finished, the followers will search the nearby area for materials to use as fertilizer, then grow mushrooms in the cavern, eating as little as possible to stay alive. Followers who die due to exhaustion and malnutrition will also be used as fertilizer. 925 will gorge itself on mushrooms whenever a crop is ready for harvest. Once most of the followers have been worked to the death, the specimen will leave the cavern, gather approximately twice the previous number of followers, and return, using the new followers to construct additional caverns and grow more mushrooms in each cavern. This process will be repeated every time a significant portion of the followers die. Currently, 13 specimens are contained, designated 925 1 through 13. The specimens have been captured in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. These specimens were all found within 30 miles of large population centers. Each specimen was living in a large cavern system with between 20 and 35 caverns. That's a lot of dead people. Test 1. D1 was informed of the behavior and told there was a way to reverse the effects. They was subject to a preliminary interview, then exposed for 15 seconds. A second interview was performed. They were exposed for 5 minutes. After retrieval, a third and final interview was carried out. Baseline interview. What is your opinion of 925? I don't know, guy. It seems pretty fucked up. What parts of its behavior are most detectable to you? Or detestable? Detestable? How you ignore it, then it works you to death, I guess? Do you find anything productive or noble about it? Noble? It makes you dig and then grows shit on you. What the hell are you pushing at? Nothing. Prepare for the test. We'll be standing by should there be any negative effects. One was positioned by the door of 7. The food slot was opened, and after a few moments, 7's arm reached out and touched 1 on the left foot. During the exposure, 1's expression changed from one of nervousness to contentment. After 15 seconds, they were pulled away. Post-exposure interview. How do you feel? I feel pretty good, guy. You? I'm well. What is your opinion of 925? No, they're just trying to get by like us, right? Are any parts of its behavior detestable to you? I can't say they're great or anything, but it's not like they're out to cause pain. Is there anything that you find noble in them? Don't know about noble. It's not like they can kill each other. It's not like they kill each other like we do, though. Hey, do I need that treatment you told me about? You appear fine. We'll be standing by during this next test. Once again positioned in front of the door and the food slot opened, arm immediately slid out and rested on the foot. During the exposure, 1's expression changed from one of contentment to a blank stare. After 5 minutes, he was removed from the door. How do you feel? I'm great. What's your opinion of 925? They're great. Do you find anything detestable about them? No! Upended the table and advanced on the doctor who fled the room. The interview was postponed until 1 became compliant. The interview resumed with 2 guards present. I'm sorry, do you find anything detestable about them? No! Table flip! Yeah! Do you find anything noble about 925? They give us a purpose. What is that purpose? They give us a purpose. Would you like the treatment we talked about? No! Very well. Well, thank you for your time. You will be escorted back to your cell. Away from him? Yes. One lunged at the doctor, closing most of the distance before being killed by the guard. That... After the last few entries, I needed a laugh. Thank you, SCP-925. That was pretty great. It was weird, but I needed that laugh after the Iceman and the museum and the another version of the truth. All of this was really weird, so I'm glad the mushroom cult was funny. So that about does it for this episode. This has been Anashi Sasuke. This was, I believe, episode 193 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the next episode, we're going to be doing, however you pronounce that, Contagious House, the White King, the Cuckoo, and Seagull Island. So we got a couple of birds and a contagious house. I can only assume it, like, they ring the doorbell and then the window opens and it sneezes on them and then it eats them. Because that's just what houses do in this thing. They either eat you or host things that will eventually eat you. So thanks again for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later.